guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a very entertaining article / Crybaby Fest, which is titled, I walked away from my perfect husband, then I found out who he replaced me with. And guys, this article is all about a middle-aged wife who was fed up with her husband because he was a big jerk and wasn't doing what she wanted to make her happy in the marriage, and she divorced him. And now is having a big temper tantrum because not only did he move on, as guys can certainly do, but who he replaced her with. And I thought it'd be a pretty entertaining one to go over here, guys. Again, making the point on multiple fronts here that a guy, even though a marriage or relationship ends, a guy can start over, and if what he wants is relationships and marriage, he can do it again. Because a guy's prime usually begins in his 30s and goes on 40s, 50s, and all that, and he doesn't have a problem replacing a gal if she breaks up with him. But when a woman breaks up with a guy and thinks in her mind that in her 40s and 50s she's just as much of a catch and desirable as she was in her 20s in her prime, good freaking luck. It's not so easy here. And also on multiple fronts here, how you can't make them happy. They break up with the husbands, which is usually how it is, because he isn't making her list of requirements, and usually that list is pretty darn long, while a guy's list of things to make him happy is relatively short. She breaks up with him because he's the villain, and then, guess what? He moves on, and again, he's still the villain because he dared move on. It's hilarious. And so I'm going to go through this one. I think you guys will find this pretty darn funny here. And there's other little things here that I'll point out along the way which will not surprise you. So it starts off, she says, how does one process and accept their husband moving on with a new partner after 17 years together and 2 kids? Only 7 months since separation. Like you wouldn't do the same thing? You're the one that ended it. I'm the one who ended it. I'm the one who tried and begged for him to work on himself and us. I had little joy in the relationship in the last 2 years, and he was a lot to work with. I didn't get much back in return. I was appreciated and celebrated. He was depressed and needed to do counseling, but refused to go. Okay, so obviously he was going through a hard time, which can happen to anybody. And it sounds to me that obviously it was taking a lot longer. Now, if he was depressed and he was moping around and things were not going good, okay, I can understand her frustration. But ending the whole thing, and I'm sure he was a lot better than what she's making out to be. We were friends for 17 years before we got together. So our friendship was always a huge part of our relationship. Hold on. They were friends for 17 years, then they got together? Sounds to me that obviously he was the last one she chose. She settled for him. Isn't any wonder this isn't exactly the happiest of relationships and marriages here. We laughed so much, we were into the same things, we really got each other. But to not work on himself and just move on to somebody new. I'm so hurt. I keep crying. But I feel like, what do I expect? I ended it, not him. Well, yeah, honey, that's how it worked. When he recently asked me to look after his cat and the children for 5 days so he could go stay with her, I got angry with him. There ain't no way I would have an ex to look after my cats. Oh, hell no. I come home and those cats are gone. Or so, no way. I said, how can you ask me to do that? I was crying. His answer was, I don't see what the problem is. You broke up with me. You don't want to be with me anymore, so why do you care if I'm with somebody else? And I was speechless. The nerve of him. Okay. Guys, if the situation was reversed, and he ended it with her, and she then moved on and started seeing somebody else, do you think women out there would be calling her a witch or something worse? No, they say, good for you, girl. He ended it with you. You have a right to go on and move on and all that. And I would agree with them. But no, she ended with him. He's allowed to move on. I think he's moving on a little too quickly, getting in a relationship after, 17 years of marriage or whatever the heck the number is. But regardless, it's his choice. But we haven't gotten to the point of who this is. We moved on to. How can I care? ? I am devastated. The new partner is a friend of one of our friends. So kind of in our friendship group. In other words, yeah, it's amazing how they'll stab each other in the back. Do you think that would be a no-go? There'd be a code amongst the girl group. No dating ex-husbands and boyfriends and all that. Nope. Boom. So I'm guessing maybe he wasn't such a bad guy after all. Maybe he wasn't such a low life and loser. He was just going through a tough time, and she was quick to end it. Who knows? And she bitched that he wasn't working on himself. Well, he clearly. But look, guys, if he was getting another gal that quickly, obviously there's some good things about him. But you all know when it comes to breakups, and I'm sure you've seen or heard this, it seems like whenever you ask a girl maybe you're starting to see, or a female relative or coworker or friend, what happened in the previous relationship, it tends to always be that the words narcissist gets thrown out there, controlling, ABUSC, some or all of those things. Like, he's always the villain. And it's like, well, what'd you do? Well, what do you mean, what did I do? Right? The new partner is a friend of one of their friends, so kind of in our friendship group. And now she gets the best of him that I had in the beginning. His humor, his charm, romantic gestures, affection. And I am left with a load of weird guys on dating apps. Let's face it, the women are better catches than the men most of the time. Not necessarily. So, it's always about the little details here that you got to pay attention to. Weird guys on dating apps. So, multiple guys she's interacted with and probably gone out with. She hasn't wasted her time either. Do you think he's annoyed or bothered that she's out there on the dating app so quickly? Well, clearly not now, but she isn't wasting any time. And I don't think it was a reaction to him going out with another gal. It feels as if by him moving on with somebody else, he has just erased our whole life together. 17 years of joy, laughter, struggles, children, holidays, and family get-togethers with our wonderful brothers and sisters and their children. Well, if it was 17 years of joy, and of course there's ups and downs in a marriage, that's going to happen, but it sounds like overwhelmingly it was good, why on God's green earth did you end it? Maybe some friends had some influence here. Maybe she watched too many talk shows or read too many blogs about the empowerment thing, and now you're complaining that he's moved on. And of course he probably worked on himself. He's probably like, F you, I'm going through a tough time, and you're throwing me out, breaking up the family, because, we had a joyous thing. I'm going to work on myself, and I'm going to replace your ass. She says he's gone, a clean slate and a new woman. I'm still grieving and trying to process my new life, and I'm not ready to give myself physically or emotionally to anybody else right now. And yet you're on the dating apps, where you're going to give yourself emotionally and physically, honey, depending on what apps you're on. And I want to hear about you grieving because you're the one that ended this. I need time to be with myself and work on myself. Well, when a gal says that, that usually means work with Chad and Tyrone. Him, not so much. My friends keep telling me not to worry, as he will not change, and someone else can deal with him now. I'm free of him. Well, that's what they're going to say. I wonder if these are some of the same friends that encourage the divorce. But I still love him. I just can't live with him. This is what makes it hard for women to break up with nice guys, because he is a nice guy. For so long, I held on because of this. I actually had a friend say about a year ago, don't break up with him. There are no other guys out there. He's not that bad. No other guys out there, really? Well, clearly he isn't that bad because he replaced you with one of your friends. Is this one of the friends that encouraged her about this? And by the way, notice she said he's a nice guy. That's probably why they were friends 17 years, then got together, because he was probably in the friend zone that he allowed himself to be in. Probably wasn't her first choice. This advice came from a friend who has been miserable in her marriage for over 10 years, who hates her husband and constantly complains about him, but she won't leave, and I'm not sure why. But I did leave the marriage, as hard as it is, and I'm not really proud of myself for it. Man, this is just a whole roller coaster of emotions and thoughts and feelings and all sorts of stuff like that. I feel sad, hurt, lost, scared, and worried about my future. But I'm no longer angry. I'm no longer resentful. Honey, you wouldn't be writing this thing if you weren't resentful. You are resentful. I'm not waiting for him to buy me a present. I'm no longer waiting for him to buy me a present, take me out, clean the house, and fix the broken whatever. He is no longer in the other room asleep after work and or on weekends, leaving me to do all the housework and look after the kids. Well, here's a question. Does she work? I mean, if she worked full-time and he worked full-time, then it's not fair for her to do everything around the house. But I'm willing to bet you that's probably an exaggeration. But if she doesn't work and he was the sole breadwinner, then yes, she could do more of the housework and the kids. But if she's on her own, I'm assuming she has a job or income here. And I'm sure this is a big exaggeration. I can buy what I want now without having to explain it to him or justify it. I can plan a holiday for myself and friends without him saying, I can't go because we can't afford it. Well, we could. Aha, here we go. Not liking the fact that he would police some of the spending. Look, you gotta have rules and boundaries when it comes to spending and what you put on the credit card and all that. But oftentimes it's labeled as financial ABUSC, if God forbid there's discussions and, limits on what's spent here. It's well known that by and large, men are better with money in terms of not spending as much as wives are. Because they're the ones that really rack it up, because at the end of the day, when people buy things, it's an emotional decision. And they'll justify by, whatever they can do to justify their emotional choice to spend money on something. But men are much less to be driven and given into the emotions as women can be. I can spoil myself when I want to. Of course, I have less money now, a lot less, but with the little I have, I can do it as I please. Well, if she's not careful, she's going to next thing rack up a lot of debt to make herself feel better about herself. That's stupid. I got no problem spending money and enjoying yourself, guys, as a single, whether you're single or in a relationship, but you got to see eye to eye with and always put money away and be smart about it. My beautiful sister-in-law, his sister, said to me the other day, whilst I was crying on the phone to her about him, she said, women need women and men need women. One thing he said to me not long after he moved out was that I would be okay because I had a group of great friends and support. However, he was lonely. What was that again about women need women and men need women? In other words, saying that the support of men is not going to be enough? That's nonsense. Well, he has male friends, but as is common, they do not provide the same emotional support as women do. I'm so lucky to have amazing female friends who are totally there for me at the moment and pretty much will be what gets me through this. Well, okay, that's good. She has female friends. I hope they're the ones that didn't encourage her to do this divorce, because that's what happens sometimes. But this nonsense that his bros aren't giving him the emotional support as women do. Number one, women don't want guys. They say they often want guys to cry to them, pour out their feelings, emotions. And then when they do that, they're like, ugh, disgusted by that. That's why you don't make your girlfriend or wife your therapist. But, of course, guy friends are not going to behave and respond the same way that women do. Because, number one, we're different. But number two, that's aren't how guys are wired. Get a bunch of women together and one has a problem, they'll talk it out. Talk. Okay, that's their way of handling things. What will we do? I don't know, we may go shoot some hoops, or shoot some pool, or go down to the gun club and fire off some rounds. Anything. That's our way of bonding and doing things. Out with the bros, going camping and making fun of each other around the campfire and getting high. Whatever. Guys are just different. And it's not bad. But they don't understand that. So off he goes into the arms of another woman. As I write this, he is with her and I have the kids. I'm not trying to think about it, but it's hard, and it hurts. I think all I have is time. Time to grieve, time to reinvent myself, time to grow and change. And hopefully, by taking the time and doing the work, I will one day meet someone who cherishes and adores me and buys me a fucking present on my birthday. Well, did they discuss things in advance where, like, we're not going to get each other birthday presents this year, we'll just, use that for a vacation or something like that, which people usually do? Who knows? And here's the thing, guys, and this is done. The next part, I'm going to read some of the comments in the comment section where all the women join up with her, and it's kind of funny. But, I'm going to make it clear. There are some husbands out there that are rotten husbands, and it is warranted that the wives divorce them. Absolutely. The same way it's warranted for men to divorce awful wives. But by and large, like I said earlier, it's usually the case that the guy is actually a decent guy. He may not be perfect, but with some good, solid communication, which usually the guy doesn't get because she wants him to just figure it out or read her mind like he's telepathic or something. And this leads to the problem. And he's usually a decent guy. He's just going through a hard time or doesn't understand what she wants, or she has a lot of unreasonable demands. And here we go, But I say good for him, he's moved on. He's moving on a little too fast, in my opinion, with another girlfriend. But if it chaps her ass a little bit, I think it's actually kind of funny. But it ain't going to be so easy for her. I'm guessing she's at least probably 40s at this point. And if she takes care of herself, she can have guys that may be interested. But it's going to be a lot harder for her to find the type of guy she wants and meets all the things in the checklist and is around the same age as she wants. It's not going to be so easy. If she's good looking, she can find guys that want to bang her. I've said this a million times because guys are pigs, will pretty much bang anything as long as it's remotely attractive and none of our buddies see who we're hooking up with. And she's keeping herself hygienic and all that. But in terms of a meaningful relationship, it's a lot harder. A guy in his 40s and a guy in his 50s who's in good shape, takes care of himself, can hold a fucking conversation, has good things. He can get women to date and be in a relationship with in their 50s, if that's what he wants, 40s, 30s, even 20s. He has to be careful with those girls in the 20s because they're looking for obviously a provider, even 30s, but still. It's a lot harder for the women. Not impossible, but a lot harder. And she's now learning this and is going to learn this and realize, shit, maybe I was a little too rash, a little too harsh on the guy, but too bad. And the kids, look what they got to deal with. Anyhow, so guys, you're watching this. You've been dumped. You've been broken up with, divorced because you were a good guy and you weren't making the big list of her demands, and yet you moved on and you're doing well, or you haven't gotten to that point yet. Understand this is probably going to be your ex one day. Now some comments. And the comment section's all full of women pretty much with the same story like her and pretty much cheering her on, and I want you to listen to some of the things they say. It's kind of funny here. It won't surprise you. This first gal says here, please trust me when I say this. He's only with somebody else so quickly because he needs anyone to continue carrying the mental load and to look after him like a baby. Ooh, ouch. I don't think he needs anybody. He's doing this because he chooses to. Trust your instincts. You did the right thing. Good riddance, you massive man baby. It's such a manipulation tactic to use the whole you broke up with me trope. According to this woman, is a manipulation. He was being manipulative by saying you broke up with me, therefore I moved on. That's bad. That's evil. That's scheming. That's manipulation. No. He did this over many, many years. Not you. Please trust me in this point too. Now go and celebrate your freedom. You just offloaded a huge burden. Yeah, well, she's been trying to celebrate her freedom in the dating apps, and you heard her say it's not exactly what it's cracked up to be. I bet you this woman did the same thing here and is using this to justify her actions. Here's another one. This gal says here, this really resonates, but I read somewhere, and I can't remember where, that women often end up having to compromise a lot of things to achieve and maintain a relationship. What about guys? We don't just compromise also, we sacrifice things to maintain a relationship. Maybe she compromises on her giant list of shit to make her happy, because a man's list to make him happy in a relationship or in life is much shorter than your typical woman, especially nowadays. And there will always be women willing to compromise a lot. And while there are so many willing to do that, many men will always be able to find someone to be with. Men, again, generally speaking, can be raised to feel entitled to have a lot of things go their way. Really? We're raised and we're entitled? I beg to differ, honey. As women, we find we don't get the same options unless we bend a lot. But being on your own and living your best life needs to be celebrated more. There are pros and cons to both being single and a couple, and neither better or worse. Well, that's the only thing I agree with her. There are pros and cons to that. There's pros and cons to everything. But she's not celebrating her best life because she's not happy, and she's and she's resentful, even though she says she's not resentful. Another one. It's funny how we can justify what a nice guy is. Not helping out, sleeping away the weekends, forgetting birthday and Christmas presents, explaining every financial burden. Gosh, I look so forward to our Sunday night credit card bill discussions, bordering on financial abuse right there. Being a respectful, kind, and supportive partner is the minimum you should expect from a relationship. If the most realistic shit gets hard, sometimes kind of a way. You hear that? She called the weekly credit card meetings financial abuse. You're freaking crazy, lady. Maybe this guy forgot a birthday, maybe forgot an anniversary. Guess what? It happens. Yeah, it could hurt the wife, sure. But guess what? He could have been going through a tough time. And I have a hard time believing that this husband of hers forgot her birthday every single year for the entire time they're together. But a guy can literally do things right for 17, say they're married 17 years. He could do things right for 16 years. But that last year, that's when, for whatever reason, he forgot an anniversary or birthday or forgot to take out the garbage one night, and all of a sudden, he is the devil incarnate. And he's always forgets. It's like, really? 16 fucking years did everything right, and now I'm the bad guy? But anyhow, guys, there you go. So, lately, these type of articles are popping up a lot. I'm sure you probably have noticed in terms of similar stories here, but I'm doing this because they're popping up a lot in my feed or what people send to me. And so, clearly a lot who thought they were strong and empowered by getting rid of that numbskull husband, of that good or nothing jerk of a husband who one time forgot the anniversary and their life would be so much better. Not really. And it shows that the guy, if he chooses to, can move on pretty darn easily when he gets older. It's not as easy for the other ones. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Guys, in the comment section, has this been your situation? Have you been dumped from a girlfriend or divorced from a wife because you weren't meeting all the psychotic standards? And you generally were a good husband, but you didn't meet her psychotic standards. And now things are going well for you, but not so much for her? I'd like to hear it in the comment section. Chime away. Everybody can jump in and talk about that. And also, guys, you got a good story to share, or you find a good article you want me to cover, even if it's something like this again, that's fine. Send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.